Good afternoon. We are finishing up our final session today on soft skills, and I just wanted to thank you all for following and reintroduce myself. My name is Gussie Sakowitz, and I'm a teacher at Miami Beach Senior High, and I've been teaching life skills and career education for over 15 years now, and I'm pleased to continue with this unit on life skills. So as a recap, last week we were on the unit that dealt with soft skills. And soft skills are those skills that you need to keep a job. They're also transferable skills, and they're skills you develop through job experience, internship, community service that you can use and apply to lots of different jobs, events, positions in your life. When we left off last week, we were watching a video, and the video was on a young lady who spoke in text, if everyone remembers that. And that was an exaggerated video, but the importance of it was to highlight the importance of communication. So when the video ended, I believe we discussed the importance of the employee Lydia's reaction to her supervisor when her supervisor was talking to her and providing constructive criticism on how to communicate with customers in a way that the customers would understand. So part of the lesson was on the importance of good communication skills and being able to communicate your message to others. And so the message you send is the message you want to be received. But then the other part of the video that we didn't discuss as much was on the importance of receiving feedback in a constructive way. And Lydia took the feedback well. If you remember in the video, after her supervisor spoke to her, she really did her best. You know, she made a small accent here and there, but she did her best to speak, understand. So that is an important part of communication skills. It's not just directly sending your message, but it's also being able to receive feedback and being able to use it. So employers want their employees to have good communication skills, but they also want the ability to respond positively to feedback. And if you all can think about your experiences, we get feedback all the time. As students, you probably get feedback on your papers. And the goal is for you to take that feedback and improve and do better next time. It's all about having a growth mindset and constantly working to improve every day. All right, so now that we discussed communication skills in that video, I am going to hold up this sheet here because this is the sheet that we were working on. And it's the main worksheet for this session. It's called Soft Skills. And last time we defined soft skills, we said soft skills were transferable skills that you can use pretty much in any job you have, okay? So now what we wanna do is start talking about technical skills. And we also did, last session, we listed the 10 soft skills. Today we're gonna go ahead and list 5 technical skills. So what I'd like to do now is share my screen so that everyone is able to see that. Oh. Okay, so here we are, technical skills. So as you're following along at home, please go ahead and write down the definition for technical skills. And that is the abilities and knowledge needed for a specific job. And again, you're writing it right here on this sheet. Now, think about technical skills. What kind of technical skills do you think a firefighter would need? The firefighter does need specific technical skills. They need a lot of soft skills too, and we can hit on that and touch on that after. But as far as being a firefighter, you probably would need to know how to use firefighting equipment and gear. Ladders, hoses, extinguishers, hydrants, protective clothing. I remember when I was teaching early childhood education to my students, we had a lesson on how to use a fire extinguisher, because you don't just squeeze a button and it's going to work. There's actually several safety features in it. That way it can't be used accidentally. So the knowledge of rescue techniques are important, driving a truck, understanding how fire behaves, knowledge about filling out paperwork, local city fire codes. All of these things are really, really important. And I'm sure, as you know, just with most jobs, that you do have to pass a test in order to be a firefighter. and the test will highlight mostly technical skills. However, there's probably quite a few questions in there that deal with soft skills. So what kind of soft skills then, just to repeat some of the things that we covered last time, do you think are necessary for a firefighter? Well, firefighters definitely have to have good communication skills because they need to find out what's going on in a building or a house that they're about to enter for their own safety and to make sure they save the most amount of people. They also have to have compassion and understanding when dealing with people because they're probably dealing with people in a very stressful time, and they have to be patient and be able to communicate with others in a way that's going to put them at ease and rest that would enhance the other people's communication. So it's just, that shows you kind of the balance and the need for people to have both technical skills and soft skills. So when we're talking about this whole unit on developing your resume and getting good experience for future jobs, please know that even if your first job requires you to work in a retail store, and maybe that doesn't have any link, or you have no interest in that, or any career that deals with retail or buying or say fashion in the future, it's just your first job. Believe me, you are going to be developing some soft skills that you will be able to apply to whatever job it is that you hold. It might be a lot of customer service interactions, but they are skills and they are transferable skills. So you can see how even if you got, you received some job experience or work experience working in a retail store, but later became a firefighter, you can see how dealing with a customer that's having anxiety or frustration over maybe a product that broke or was defective, and how good customer service would be able to, a good customer sales representative would be able to talk to this customer, ease their mind, and help find a solution and resolve the problem. And that would be one of the key soft skills a firefighter would need in putting out a physical fire and also reducing the stress and anxiety of the people that are dealing with the fire. So that's how they're transferable, and that's why all experiences are good experiences as long as you maximize the most out of every experience. What you put in is what you get out. Okay, so next let's talk about the importance of a well-rounded employee. All right, so what skills might be needed to be a customer service representative for a computer software company? Some good answers would probably be technical skills. I mean, if somebody's working for a computer service, a computer software company, they're probably going to need to know a lot about the computer software. However, if you are in the customer service department, you probably also need several different soft skills because you do need good customer service and an ability to communicate with the people that are calling in. So soft skills are important, such as a positive attitude, good communication, courtesy, a sense of responsibility. But then you're going to also need those technical skills, which would be computers, operating systems, and software. And a knowledge of the company, policies, practice, billing systems, that's also going to be important. So those are three different areas. You've got your soft skills, which are skills that apply and can be transferred to every job that you have. You've got technical skills, which would mostly be used in specific areas. So if someone knows about computers and technology, they would use it in a wide variety of careers in that cluster. And then finally, you have to have that knowledge of the specific company. It could relate to their policies. It could relate to offers that customers are entitled to receive. It could be related to questions customers have about warranties, etc. So those are those three different areas. And the knowledge about the specific company really wouldn't apply to any other company but this one. And I can tell you I've had my share of phone calls calling customer service companies dealing with technology and computer issues. And those representatives had amazing soft skills, great communication skills, and they knew a lot about the computer issues I was having. And they knew exactly about what their company was allowed to offer. And if their company wasn't allowed to offer a service, they let me know what the fee would be. So let's go ahead now and let's just see if you've been following along and you know the difference between soft skills and technical skills. What's a quick way to describe the difference? Well, I can tell you that strong technical skills will help you get and keep a specific job, but strong skills will help you keep any job. So technical skills are going to help you get and keep a specific job, but strong soft skills will help you keep any job. So that's the importance, and that applies to everything that you do. All right, so if you can remember that, and you can use that to identify soft skills versus technical skills, you're going to do very well at this game we're about to play. So ideally, if we had a team, we would have everyone competing against each other. That's okay. For the purpose of this, we're going to just see if we can identify. All right, so we have here at the bottom, it says arriving on time. Would we consider that a soft skill, which you need for pretty much any job you have? Or would we consider that a technical skill where you would need that for maybe a specific career cluster? I think that arriving on time is important for everything that you do. Click it here. So let's try putting in soft skills. Okay. Next, installing a fence. Do you need that for a specific job, or maybe every single job you have, having that knowledge of installing a fence would help? Well, I can tell you, I am a teacher and I do not need to know how to install a fence. It would help for home and life, but it is not helping for my career. So we're going to put that here for technical skills. All right, this is an interesting one. Performing CPR. So I definitely think this is a very important skill that every human being should know because it saves lives. But today we're talking about careers. So would performing CPR be a soft skill that you could use in any job? I almost want to say yes, because you never know when the emergency is going to arise. But realistically, we're sitting here at home and we're all working and learning from home. And maybe we realize that we might not be working in an atmosphere where we have to save someone's life. So in that sense, it might be a great technical skill for someone that's, say, an EMT. All right, changing a diaper. Is this an important skill that we need, that applies to every job that we have? Or is this something specifically for a certain career? So I think we can agree that most careers, most jobs are not going to require you to change a diaper. However, there are some jobs where you are going to work with infants and need to change a diaper. So we'll leave that with technical skills. All right, working well in a group, okay? So is there a certain job that you're going to need to work well in a group? Or is this something that you might very well likely be doing with whatever job you have? And yes, even when you're working at home and you're working through Zoom sessions, there are opportunities to work in a group. And I can tell you because I've been doing it. All right, writing a persuasive essay. So for those of you that are following at home, I think good writing skills are important for every single job you have because you need to have, this is part of good communication, but it doesn't necessarily require that you have to write a persuasive essay. So that would be only specific jobs. Maybe if you were a salesperson or a lawyer, or you're working in marketing, would you need to persuade someone? Dependability, doing what you say you're going to do. So is this something where you only need to do what you say you're going to do in certain positions? Or should you be able to do that in every single career that you have? Be that dependable person that shows up when they need to and that completes their required tasks. We're going to go with every position. Showing enthusiasm. So this is not something that you're going to see on a job requirement where you must have enthusiasm, but it is a skill that's going to make you more desirable in the workplace. When you show enthusiasm, you usually have more energy, more excitement in whatever the work task is, and you're going to improve the mood of the people around you. It builds a positive energy. So this is not just for specific jobs, this is pretty much for every job. Persistence, keeping up when things go wrong. If I can tell you this and repeat this with every session we have, I will. things don't always go 100% the way you want the first time. Sometimes you have to try again. Sometimes put in a second application. Sometimes maybe it's your second choice that's the one that you're meant to have. Persistence is to keep trying until you're satisfied with what you get, until you get what you needed to. So this is something you're going to need in every job. It's not just a technical skill. This is a soft skill that will make you a better employee. Using a computer. This is an interesting one because on one hand, I can tell you, most likely you're going to be using a computer with whatever you do. I mean, if you work even in retail, most of the registers have computers that you have to use to check people out. Everywhere, every job probably will have some kind of computer where you're checking in or logging in. So computer skills are very important. However, they are not a soft skill because it's different programs and softwares that you would need for different jobs. So that would make it a technical skill. All right, so we have completed the activity. Thank you for those of you that have been following along at home. I'd like you to take a quick look at this so you can see different examples of soft skills and technical skills. And we are going to go back to this page that part of the guide. If you're following along at home, you can now finish the last part of the page or the activity sheet. So it says to list the 5 technical skills from the sorting game. Those would be installing the fence, performing CPR, changing a diaper, writing a persuasive essay, and using a computer. I'd like to, for a moment, go ahead and just go back because it's been a week since we started this session and we covered the 10 soft skills. And I'd like to go ahead and go back to those soft skills just for a moment, just as a recap. I see here that we're on slide 8. We will get back to slide 8. So if you didn't see last week's session, these were the soft skills examples that we covered. Positive attitude, good communication skills, taking initiative, courtesy and consideration of others, collaboration and teamwork, sense of responsibility, punctuality, adaptability and flexibility, integrity, persistence, strong work ethic, and professionalism. Okay? So now we're going to go back to 8 and we finished the sorting game. We're going to the next activity. Okay, so the next activity is kind of cool. It is another worksheet that's part of this unit, and it's the soft skills evaluation. So ideally, if you're following along at home, this is kind of like a personal sheet. It's an opportunity for you to self-reflect and see what soft skills you currently possess and what soft skills you want to work on. So if you're looking at the soft skills self-evaluation at home, you'll probably notice that you can check off not yet or now, which means there's no option of no and yes and no. So you either currently have the skill or you're going to work on it because all of these are necessary skills in any job you have in the future. So you want to review each skill. You want to decide whether you have the skill now or whether you need to work towards it. And in the last column on the right side, you want to give an example of how you've demonstrated or what you've done to demonstrate that skill. And finally, if you don't have that skill, make note of what you can do to build that skill or to improve. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at the first section right here. And it's in the category that says communication. So I listen to others and do not interrupt, not yet or now. I found and I've read that a lot of times when people are listening to others, they get so excited about what someone's saying that they start to lose that moment where they're listening and they start to plan on what they were going to say to respond. So if you can relate to that and you're following along at home, that might be a skill you have, but you want to work on just a little bit more. Next one for communication. I ask questions when I don't understand something. And a lot of people do. I'm a teacher and I have quite a few students that ask me questions, they get clarification and it's great and they do well. But I'll never know this. So if you're following along at home, please know no one's going to know what your questions are unless you ask them. And clarification is so important, both at school at home, in your personal life, and definitely in your career. Next, I talk to peers and adults when there's a problem. So one of the worst things you can do is let something kind of bubble up inside you. That's not going to accomplish anything. That's not going to solve anything. Talking to the right person about it is important. This is very different than talking to everybody at school or everybody in a work setting. That can almost be misconstrued as gossip. What you want to do to solve a problem is talk to the right person that's going to help you get a solution. Sometimes it's a colleague, sometimes it's your parent, sometimes it's your supervisor or your teacher. Next, teamwork. I work well with other people. Well, as a teacher, I would say most of my students would check this off because they do, and they love working in groups. But if you're following along at home and you find group work very difficult, check this off and make this something you're going to work on. Because I will tell you, teamwork and group work is a major part of academics, both high school, college, and in your careers. Next, I respect other people's ideas. Again, this is part of a growth mindset. It's that understanding that you don't have the answers to everything, and you are open to listening to other people's ideas and respecting what they have to say. Just like you have your own opinions and ideas, others do as well. And it's important in school and in the workplace to respect those. Next, and you don't have to agree, you just have to respect that there's a difference. Next, I can compromise my ideas to achieve a team goal. So in your personal life, I'm not going to tell you you should compromise all of your ideas. But when you are working both on a school project and in the work environment, compromise sometimes becomes important. The project won't always be exactly as you had in mind because there are other people in your group that have their own visions. So compromise is working together where each of your voices are heard and each of your visions are being met. Compromise is very important. But again, there's a time and a place for compromise. Next, let's talk about work ethic. I get things done, even if it takes longer than expected. That is a strong work ethic. Are you willing to keep working until you finish something? Or do you give up when your favorite TV show comes on? Or do you give up the first time you try something when it doesn't work out? And if that is you and you can relate to what I just said, check this off as something that you don't have yet, but you are going to work on. This is important. Again, I know I said it already in this lesson, but it's part of persistence. You have to keep trying until you reach the goal that you want. And it's not always the first time you try. And it's an important skill for life, academics, and your career. Next, I put forth my best effort. This is very important. Again, you probably all know, the more you study, the better you will perform on a test. And if any of you following along at home play a sport, you probably know that if you want to win a game or if you want a chance of winning a game, you have to put forth your best effort. And sometimes your team's not going to win, even if they've put forth their best effort. But it's a learning experience. And sometimes it just shows you how much harder you have to try next time. And that's okay. Next, I look forward to things that need doing instead of waiting to be told. So we used the term earlier, initiative, okay? So if you know something that has to be done, go ahead and start it. If you've already had a job and you know that when you check in and there's already somebody waiting online for customer service, go ahead and call that person over. You don't need a supervisor to tell you that. Kind of like when your phone's ringing, you don't need anyone to tell you to answer it, you know you need to answer it. Initiative, taking care of things when they need to and not waiting for others to tell you. All right, let's talk about attitude. I am positive and enthusiastic. So remember I said this is not something you're going to see on a list of job requirements, but it is a really important soft skill that is very evident with the way you do your work. When you have a positive attitude and when you bring enthusiasm to the workplace, it's contagious. It makes others around you positive and excited and enthusiastic. You're more pleasant to work with and be around. You show that you like your job, and therefore you're more likely to do your job properly. And that's how others will perceive you. So positivity, enthusiasm is a good way to reflect the energy that you bring, but also to show others, well, and showing others how important the job and the skills and that the projects are to you. Next, I am interested in learning new information and skills. This is a very important soft skill. If you're thinking that you're going to stop learning skills when you graduate high school, you're wrong. You're going to be learning a lot in college. And if you choose not if you choose a different path and you go into vocational school or you start working or you take a gap year and you travel, everything is about learning new skills. So I believe all of you should be prepared to be lifelong learners. The world is not going to look exactly like it looks in 40 years. And as the world is evolving and changing, so are the skills needed in the workforce. And those that are going to be successful are the ones that know how to adapt and change to the constant change in the workforce. It could be technology, it could be laws and policies that change, but you have to be able to learn the new things, adjust, and deal with it and do it well. Next, I can take direction and criticism well. So we all have supervisors. Even people that own their own companies usually have shareholders that they have to account to, or a board that they have to account to. So we all have people that we have to account to. And it could be, the public or the consumers that are buying your product if you are the boss of all bosses. Those consumers are the ones that keep your business going. So everyone will have at some point some constructive criticism to offer. And the way of dealing with this is to listen to it, use it to direct you. You don't have to, if you're a supervisor, you don't have to follow every single suggestion that people give, but you do want to listen because they probably will be good suggestions. If you're not a supervisor and your supervisor is giving you constructive feedback and direction, you do need to take that and you do need to follow it, because the supervisor knows the company better, knows the position better, is trying to build a better employee out of you. So there is an importance to it. So again, this will stem from your first job, taking constructive criticism and direction from your supervisor, to if you ever become a supervisor, understanding that even at that point, you're going to be getting some direction and you have to decide how to use it. And you might be in a position where you've learned from your experiences and now you know how to give constructive feedback and direction. All right, now let's talk about professionalism. So first thing we have is I arrive early or on time. So I know we said this in a previous session, and we discussed how important that is for an interview. You have to be prepared for everything. Well, it's the same thing for your job. You have to arrive on time. And on time is early. You always need to have a little bit of what I'm going to say or call cushion room, just in case. If you're arriving on time and you're a teacher in the classroom, very likely there are going to be students that are already there waiting. So that's why it's important to always get there a few minutes earlier. Same thing applies to every job you have. You need to give yourself some cushion room, and you need to be there before people around you need you and start waiting for you to help. Next, dress and act appropriately for each situation. So part of my certification is teaching fashion design. And so there is a science to fashion design. Certain fabrics are designed for certain activities, okay? So if you're going to work out and exercise, you're not going to be wearing a suit. It's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to allow you to move your body freely, okay? So that shows you why dressing a certain way and dressing appropriately is important for exercise. If you're going to a job interview, remember you're going to dress at least one, maybe two levels above what you would expect to wear normally to that job to make a good first impression. If when you arrive to work, there's usually a company handbook that tells you what to wear. And you want to look and see what's appropriate, because in some cases, jeans are not appropriate to wear to work. And you have to dress business casual or business professional. And if that's the case, you have to dress the way other people around you are dressing. There are a lot of jobs that you have, and they might even be your first job, where maybe you're working at a yogurt shop where it's not acceptable and it's not appropriate to wear clothing with rips and tears in it. And usually when you report to work, that's never acceptable. So you want to find out what the appropriate clothing is for that particular job, and you want to see what the handbook says. And you want to also make sure, remember that example of if you're exercising, you're not going to wear a suit. You want to make sure you're comfortable. That might be making sure you're wearing the right size clothing so it's not too tight so you feel comfortable, or even making sure that you don't wear clothing that's too loose. Again, my certification involves culinary, and I would always tell the students they can't wear long shirts and that have sleeves that hang, because it's dangerous when you're working with hot foods and you're cooking and you're next to a stovetop that's on. So again, it all depends on the specific position. But do know, ripped, torn clothing, never acceptable. Okay, and my final thing